Reflection on Cleansing the Memory, February 2017. 1 Thessalonians 5:23. May the God of peace himself sanctify you entirely, and may your spirit and soul and body be kept sound and blameless at the coming of our Lord Jesus Christ. Hearing that I call you not to sin, you need to know that my desire is to guide you so that you cleanse your memory and find freedom. The physical senses of man must come into harmony with the Spirit. Our Lord Jesus Christ, September 18, 2016. Brothers and sisters, we are called to direct our whole physical and spiritual body towards communion with the Most Holy Trinity. Our spiritual body is not only integrated or formed by the spirit and the soul, but our mind, thought, emotions, feelings, memory, impulses, personality and so forth reside within that spiritual organism. We easily tend to admire what is external because it is what we have within the range of our sight, but the call of Christ to cleanse our memory is to search for our own selves. Within ourselves lies infinite grandeur. That grandeur is the truth of ourselves, and in that truth we find God in our soul. Our memory informs our soul of how we are working and acting. Our memory is so important that it is one of the powers of the soul. We keep it almost closed, laid aside, obscured, to be used as little as possible, but without man perceiving it. At every instant the memory is in continuous work and action, in movement, because when we wish to remember, it is the images that are in our memory that cause recollections and our desires to flow. The human being possesses intelligence, but at this instant man is shackled regarding his understanding, knowing that understanding is the capacity of each creature to analyze, examine and to be able to debate and to defend what they have understood. Nonetheless, as man has little understanding, intelligence atrophies and is limited. Until man comes to the point of not living an inner life, he knows the world and is pervaded by the world's conflicts, but internally he resembles what is basest because he becomes incapable even of seeing his own brutality, because he becomes incapable even of feeling his own truth. Christ tells me that man does not know what losing the powers of the soul means. Since this loss implies the loss of immortality, we understand that the powers of the soul will always be there, but man, by contaminating them, makes them incapable of acting for the good. That is why he calls us to cleanse our memory so that our soul may be cleansed of what memory has stored in which soils it. He has requested that we know ourselves from the inside. Nobody wants to see intimately how they are, but we need to do this as a first step in order to cleanse the memory. For memory is to be found in the intimacy of the soul, and we therefore have to see ourselves as we are, yet not only thinking of ourselves as individual beings, but with the perspective that we form a community and all emanate that harmony that transforms into a source of feedback for everyone. Christ tells me that self-awareness is very important because we can identify it as part of the personality of the soul and of the personality of the creature. The soul must know itself and love itself so that man can love his neighbor and the whole of God's creation. But the soul is searching for itself because of the little or no will that we have of giving the soul that information about the spiritual growth to which heaven calls us. In order for our memory to be cleansing itself, we must want and intend to stabilize it. Everything comes to the memory through the senses. Each sense sends information to the memory, so much so that with the memory we can even bring up smells and tastes from the past. Every physical sense has a spiritual sense, and therefore if the physical memory is one, so too the spiritual memory is one, as they are unified in the soul. Between each physical and spiritual sense there exists almost an attachment to the central physical and spiritual memory. They maintain a feeling that unites them. Each sense creates a bridge, as it were, that links it with memory. Memory brings past experiences to this instant and constructs the future, and this is because everything is transformed into information coming from outside and held within the creature through flat images or with textures or smells. depending on how this past information has been kept in memory, so the human being acts, because everything goes to making up the personality. Every human creature is creating their own world, with their own universe, starting from childhood, because everything has entered the man through the psyche. Even the divine imprint that each man bears is kept in the memory in some form, and depending on how it has been nurtured during life, so every human being accepts, receives or rejects spirituality. Therefore, Christ calls us to find ourselves again, but this instant of our own free will. In being ignorant of all of the above, we will not manage to cleanse the memory and the whole inner universe that has been forming itself over the years. And if there is no intention to recall all those images that are to be found in our memory so as to order them in God, neither forgiveness, patience, charity, nor hope are given for ourselves or for our brothers and sisters. Everything is ordered by conscience, whereas man has allowed his memory to undergo a metamorphosis, because without spirituality man walks alone and is limited. Memory must be a form of self-awareness in order to keep man vigilant and so that he would not lose what is innate to man, the capacity to love and to understand, but this must arise in the will of the creature. Hence the communication and knowledge are so essential that unite everything that is created by God. Love, Christ says to me, do you want to know how to cleanse the memory and therefore everything that follows from it? You need to desire the good. The memory is cleansed in goodness, in the proper knowledge of the truth. The memory goes about replacing wrong images with the right ones. It replaces painful ones by a greater understanding of the love of God for human free will. So man will see and live united to the only thing that is eternal, God. Only thus will what is rational be perfect. Luz de Maria.